Here we are with Stretching Our Necks. I have my buddy Kay sitting next to me, and he has me, Douglas, sitting next to him. So a little bit about our podcast. We are
making basically a commentary about how we feel, even though we're not always completely educated on the entire subject.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, you know, that's kind of a broad-based variety, but yeah.
So in this case, we would basically at times on these subjects, we are stretching our necks out, either to look at, see what we might learn or might see for the first time, and or stretching our necks out a little bit too far.
In which case, they get lopped off. So, what we're going to start with is we're going to announce our social medias and make sure that you guys are able to find us more because, why not? Everybody does it. So, you can find us at Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Stretching Our Necks, and at Twitter, Stretching Our Necks. Literally an R. The rest didn't fit. So, we're going to jump right into why we're here. And that is because we are going to advocate for our Second Amendment rights. And they are under attack from every direction. And we want to bring awareness to that. Not because there isn't awareness already, but I feel that, he can explain himself in a second. I feel that there needs to be millions of people out there bringing the attention that it needs because 1 isn't enough, 2 isn't enough, 2 million isn't enough. We need to literally have hundreds of thousands of millions of people out there saying we want our rights. We have set up a GoFundMe for exactly that, and it is Stretching Our Necks on GoFundMe. And what we plan to do with that is we plan to hire constitutional lawyers to go down into the inner cities of whatever state we can find and find people that have been made criminals out of carrying guns. Carrying a gun is not a crime. There shouldn't even be an age limit on it. Yeah, cities like Chicago, Baltimore, Jersey, New York, name a city in California. People get arrested all the time for just carrying a gun. They're not committing any crimes. They're not doing anything wrong. They just have a weapon, and that is against our Constitution. And we want to not only bail them out, we want to provide them with legal defense to make sure they don't turn into overnight felons. Where'd that idea come from? That's a great story. Been watching Tim Pool, and on Timcast, he talks a bunch of times about Second Amendment, why he supports it, why he believes in it. And we have this thing called the NRA. And the NRA is crap. They get millions and millions and millions of dollars every year to go advocate for Second Amendment rights. Yet, I don't know of any time they actually go down and they fight these small cases for people that are arrested on gun charges that don't need to be in jail for any reason. They have a constitutional right to carry their weapon, and that is exactly what they are being arrested for. So that's what we want to do. We started this GoFundMe to raise money to go into these cities and fight that fight. And that's what we're going to do. We don't believe in it. We're not going to believe in it. And we want to make sure that even if you are a felon, you have a right to carry a gun. You did your time. You deserve to have your rights reinstated, and that's where we're going to go with that. Opinions on that? Did I not cover anything?
Well, I think overall, that's one of the things about this particular podcast is it's not a always going to be, basically united on all subjects. I can see various times where, even with our founding fathers, there were people that were not allowed to possess, a firearm, and so
What were they
with
called?
everything,
What were that group of people called?
felons.
No.
I
I'll say it. I don't want to make you say it. I want to say it. They were called slaves. If you were a slave, you were not allowed to own a firearm.
No, you couldn't. There were people that were again. What you really look at is there will always be counterpoints to it.
There's always going to be counterpoints.
Do I want somebody who isn't a felon necessarily, but just has been placed in a mental health situation where they may cause harm to themselves or others.
Okay, but have they done it yet?
Obviously there are cases of it. I mean, if you want to look at if you want to go into a historical, there's good reason maybe John Hinckley shouldn't have had a handgun.
Why? Why shouldn't he have had a handgun? He wasn't a felon until he committed a felony.
But he was definitely under some medical. He wasn't what I would say the sanest person in the room.
No, but neither am I. So I shouldn't have a handgun because I'm a little goofy?
Well, again, it's that's one of those things where I'm going to say that.
Okay, for people that don't know, what did he do?
He shot John Lennon.
He shot John Lennon, right? All right. Did he commit a crime before he shot John Lennon?
I would have to go back and do more research.
Okay, just off the top of your head, do you know if he committed crimes before he went and shot John Lennon?
No, but were there signs possibly that he was not mentally well?
Wasn't he a ginger?
No.
No, okay.
Not that
well, I was going to segue into that. Well, you're a ginger, that's a sign to me that you're a little unstable, right? I'm joking, by the way, absolute joke. But still, who decides or predicates what signs are a little goofy that says you no longer have the right to defend yourself? Granted, I understand the fact that he shot and killed somebody, but before that, had he committed a violent act like that? No, the answer is no, he had. Now, was he a little unstable? Did he have precursors that evolved into that unstable mess that was the assassination of John Lennon? Yeah, absolutely. But should he have lost his right to carry a gun?
At the time, I guess would be have to look at what led him up to deciding to commit the actual why he decided to kill John Lennon. Why did that?
I'm someone a little bit of a moron here, but wasn't he the one that talked to his dog and said?
No,
that wasn't him.
That's David Berkowitz.
Yeah, all right.
That's the son of Sam.
Son of Sam, right. That was the one that talked to his dog and said God told me to do it, right?
Well, he thought his neighbor's dog was telling him actions that he thought he should perform.
Okay, so let's jump right into that now. Should he have lost his right to carry?
Well, how do we know? I mean, the thing about it is we don't know what's always inside of our neighbors' heads.
No, we don't.
So whether or not if you were to walk in and purchase a gun, it's not like you have a psych test.
But they are literally trying to institute that. They literally want your neighbors to come in and testify against you. That's their new bill anyway. That's what they want. They want your neighbors. They want my ex-girlfriend to be able to come in and testify against me. She hates me. She's the mother of my son. She hates me. She should determine whether or not I have the right to defend myself. Again, this guy, obviously, clearly insane. I mean, clearly. It's been proven without a shadow of a doubt that he is mentally insane. And he made a serial killer out of himself, right? I can now say confidently he should not possess a firearm or a weapon of any kind, right? But before that happened, should his rights have been infringed?
Well, I don't think they were. That was one of the
No,
things.
they weren't. But you can't control what everybody does, can you?
No, I mean that's again we know that life itself is uncontrollable.
Right. So why are we trying to control
But if
every
you know,
aspect?
It's kind of the same thing though. I mean, I would say it has been recently been.
So where was the
talked
Son of
about-
Sam murders committed? Weren't they committed out in Los Angeles?
No,
Where were they committed? Ohio?
New York.
New York. All right. There's so many serial killers out there. You can get them confused. New York, New York, New York. All right. New York has the strictest gun laws out there, right? I mean, outside of California or Chicago.
Again, you have to look at maybe when what the laws were
At the
back
time.
At the time,
Because that was
Yeah.
70s, right?
yes,
Yes.
I believe that was the 70s.
So, what we know it as today is pretty gun restrictive. So, I would argue that the reason why the Son of Sam murders were committed was because the people that were involved didn't have a weapon to defend themselves.
Well, that's very true.
If any one of them had a small handgun, they could have literally fought for their life. Yes?
Well, yes. I mean, again, it's it's not that I'm disagreeing with overall the ability for anybody. To
No, absolutely not. But to have a discussion about it, if
But there is, and I agree that, let's say, either the male or the man or woman who were in the car at the time when he would come up and pop him with a 357, well, whether or not they've been able to defend themselves or return fire if Berkowitz fired first into the vehicle, missing them, or however, no, that makes sense. It always will be that, I should be able, if I'm allowed to, or, overall, if that's the case. Be
But you
allowed
kind of
to-
made a point there, right? You were so conditioned to say, if I am able. Why? Aren't all of us created equal, right? All of us created equal. If we all follow under the inalienable rights that are granted to us by the Creator, we are all able. So you are able. Why should you be restricted?
Well, again, it's, I'm not saying that. Well,
I'm just saying it's a conditioned response. Everybody kind of leans into if I am able. Well, we all are able. It's like asking a teacher to go to the bathroom. Hey, Mrs., can I go to the bathroom? And she comes back with that snarky ass attitude. I don't know, can you? And you're like, may I go to the bathroom? You don't need to ask permission to carry a gun. You already have been granted that right by God Himself. So why do we want to put labels on what we can and cannot do carrying a gun? If you're a felon and you have gone to prison and you had committed a violent felony, using a gun, but you served your time, say it was 30 years for murder because you shot somebody in the face with a gun, should that felon now be able to come outside of prison, served his time, he's off parole, should he be able to buy a gun?
I think that's one of the tougher questions that's out there. Is whether or not that is something that, again, you're looking at. If they were, somebody who had killed one, killed two, killed three people if they wanted, as they did it. Do I necessarily, do you give, as soon as the alcoholic is out of treatment, do you say go ahead and have another alcohol? And maybe it's not the safest thing for that individual to have or possess.
No, but that's great. That's a great lead-in, right? So, alcoholism. Let's talk about that. People get multiple DUIs in Wisconsin. Typically, they have a lesser offense than, say, Georgia or Michigan or even down in Illinois. which is the gun capital of the world for illegal guns. So if you give an alcoholic who has a problem and is sent to prison for however many years he went, we're not saying whether he decided to drive drunk and kill somebody or not, but he got multiple DUIs, he's sitting in prison for a set determined amount of time, he gets out. Isn't he able to drive again?
No, not always.
Not always, but he can get his ability to drive back, yes?
Not always.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's,
There's always factors.
Yeah, I think
that come in.
I think there are also court-made orders that can cause people to never drive again.
There may be, especially if you're your 17th DUI, right? But some of these guys, they get one DUI, and they come out, they serve whatever jail time they had to serve, and they pay whatever restitution they had to pay, and they come back out and they spend whatever time they had to spend not being able to drive, but there is a path to redemption and an automobile waiting for them on the other side. Almost always. Yes? First offense. We're not talking multiple, just the first offense.
Yeah.
I've had a DUI. I have a DUI on my record. I know exactly the process for Michigan, what it requires to get your license back and be able to drive again, right? So why is it that we have penalties for a DUI, but when you're done with that DUI, you're able to come out and get yourself a license? But now, depending on whether or not that was a felony DUI, you can get your license back, but you can't get a gun anymore. Off of one crime. You may have never committed another crime in your life, but you have one crime. Didn't even involve a gun, but that crime was considered a felony, and now you can never in your lifetime ever possess another firearm. Now, granted, there are other ways to get access to retrieve your rights, but that entire burden falls on you. You have to pay thousands of dollars to get them back. That's not right. That is a right given to you by the Creator. And now they want to restrict that right. Automobile isn't a right. That's a privilege. But you can get that privilege back, provided you do all the right things. But you can never get your right back to carry a gun.
2 minutes.
Which is exactly why we're starting this entire podcast, to debate these entire things and raise money and awareness against them, right?
I think you're. Yeah.
So these are some of the complications that go in with who can and cannot carry a gun. Obviously, the debate's not settled. We're going to have a lot more to talk about with this, but just to kind of get it started off and hit some high points. I think every person on earth should be able to drive an M1 Abrams right into their driveway. Not everybody feels that way. You know, there's this funny thing going around on Facebook, you know, how 2A are you? And then it's got like Nicolas Cage popped up there that says, 1 out of every 12 people are armed. How do we arm all the 11? You know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of neat. And he's not wrong. I think it should be mandatory in the United States that not only does everybody be required to receive a gun when they turn, I don't know, when they're born. Not even turn, just when they're born. You get a gun. By the time you're however old, now you get gun training. I don't know. I think as soon as you should walk, you should get a gun and gun training. Everybody should be able to carry a concealed weapon. Everybody should be able to brandish a weapon. There's zero things in the Second Amendment that say anything should be restricted. Matter of fact, they argue to the contrary. Shall not be infringed. There's no stipulation other than that. The only stipulation in the entire Constitution is against the federal government. You cannot do this. There's not one thing saying an American cannot do this. No, it's the federal government. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to infringe, right? So there's no rules in the Constitution that says, oh, hey, I got a felony, so I can't have a gun. Or I'm the wrong color, so I can't have a gun. No, the only stipulation is that big-ass federal government that doesn't belong doing anything cannot take away your guns. And yet we have Joe Biden who's literally said no amendment is absolute.